Hey everyone. So I neglected to say that my last video, when I talked about developing a vetting mindset, I didn't say that was actually a part one. All right, this is the part two. And I really wanted to use this video to delve into my last point on that one. And the last point was being observant. All right. And I talked about being a gatekeeper for ourselves. And this is the one in which asking questions does come into play. And I did say that I want us to move away from the idea of only it being questions and more so a mindset. And so that is what I focused on in that video. And I didn't really give questions in that video because I was just focusing so much on mindset there, right? And so in this video, I do want to give some questions that I think would be really great to ask. And I did mention too that when it comes to asking these questions, I don't want you showing up on like a first date with a notepad and just going, okay, boom, boom, boom. These are the questions you need to answer so I can vet you. No, just weave them into your conversation. Like I said, be observant. Just kind of watch how this person acts. And then in addition too, there's some questions that are just going to be unique to you because of the other points I gave, right? Knowing yourself. When it comes to knowing yourself and knowing your needs, that's something that only you alone know, right? And I mentioned taking the love languages test, right? So if you are someone that needs words of affirmation, for me, that's actually not my love language. I love words of affirmation. If you have them for me, please do give them to me. But also, it's not my love language, so it's not really what makes me tick all like that. But if it is for you, and you know that that's something really important for yourself, you now know that the person for you is going to be someone who either also has that love language too, or that they are really just comfortable and with their words, free flowing with their words. And so that they'll be able to fulfill that need for you when it comes to being in a relationship, right? And so that's why it's important to know yourself. Okay, so for the first question that's really important to ask is, why are you dating? What is your end goal for dating? Why are you dating? And so I like this question more so than, what are you looking for? Or what kind of person you're looking for? Because what it does is it takes you as an individual out of the equation. Because sometimes when people hear, oh, so what are you looking for? They're like, if they haven't really wrapped their minds around the process at hand, that kind of scares off people, or makes them think that is she being clingy? It makes them think that you're delving into, kind of inserting yourself into their lives, right? Some people are just really interesting when it comes to that process, right? And so when you're asking a person, why are you dating? What it does is it takes you out of that equation and makes them really focus on themselves and what their end goal is for dating, right? And so what you want to do is make sure that whatever their answer is to that question lines up for your purpose for dating as well, right? So if you're just out here wanting something casual, which is fine, there are people out here who want something casual, and the person says, well, I'm actually dating because I want to be married within the next couple of years, then yeah, that's not really going to line up when it comes to intention. Someone is going to be hurt in this instance. Now, if you are looking for something long-term, something more serious, and the person says, well, my end goal for dating, what I'm looking for is I ultimately want a wife. And if you're ultimately looking for a husband, then great, you have fulfilled that step when it comes to dating. And I know some people are probably going, what? That's really basic. Let me tell you about all the people that get tripped up because they weren't clear on their intentions right off the gate. or they assumed that the person wanted the same things that they did, only to find out that they did not want the same things, right? And so when it comes to humans and getting what we want, asking questions is not a foolproof way to know what someone is truly feeling or thinking. Some people are just really, they're just out here getting what they want, and they are determined to get what they want, and they know what the perfect answer is to some of these questions, and so they're going to give it to you. So when it comes to asking these questions, what you're doing is just doing your best when it comes to weeding out people. For me, just really like getting a vibe for people and just really observing them is really, really helpful, because when a person has an agenda, that is just the goal they're focusing on, right? So if their behavior seems kind of weird, or they're very hot and cold, or they're very dismissive, or they disappear, they take a really long time to respond to you. And I'm not talking about hours. You know, if someone sent you a message like 7 hours ago or something, like that is okay. Like within the course of a day, there's so many things that can happen, right? Especially people have jobs. There's, you know, all kinds of things that come up sometimes. And this is the kind of person I am. When it comes to responding to things, I like to really have a time where I can just sit and really think about a response, rather than just, you know, if I have 30 seconds here and a couple minutes there, and trying to squeeze in a response just doesn't, I like to be able to kind of, you know, have some time to respond. So it may not happen for a couple hours. There are some people like that, right? So when I say not responding to you quick enough, I'm talking about you sent somebody a message on Thursday and they're not getting back to you till like the following Wednesday or something. Like, oh yeah, so how was your weekend? It's just like, well, it's hump day already. Like, what are you talking about, right? So what you're doing is just getting a feel for what this person is really looking for. And if anything doesn't line up to what they say, if their actions and words don't line up, just go ahead and say, you know what? I don't think this is going to work out. I'm going to move on, right? Because it's better to weed out these people now rather than getting attached and trying to navigate heartache or even a breakup or anything like that later, okay? And so the next question that I think is really, really important is asking, what do you want out of life? And in addition to that too, do you feel like you are on your path, your purpose path? Do you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing? And so this is a really important question when it comes to dating men in particular, women too, of course, but really important when it comes to dating men, because men have, they oftentimes they'll have a timeline in their head on where they want to be in life. And when it comes to this timeline, if they don't feel settled in their purpose, or they don't think they're quite there yet, what they'll do is they'll still date and everything, right? Because they do still want to get out there and meet people and interact with people, and just there's different reasons. Some, you know, there's looking for sex maybe. There's a lot of reasons, and that, like I said, I don't actually think all that is a bad thing. I'm just saying it's just a thing, right? But what I'm getting to is, if they don't feel like they're in a place in life where they've really hit that stride and they can really start looking for a life partner, every woman up until then is not necessarily going to be the one that they feel they're going to choose long term, right? So that's an important question to ask them. If they say, well, I think I'm about, 5 years, 10 years from where I want to be, but I do think I'm getting there, then you can follow up with, additional questions about their intentions for dating and things of that nature. That's not to say that they're not going to be serious about you, but only that guys are very, very cognizant of making sure that they're showing up in the world as someone who is just really comfortable in who they are and their path, and a lot of them too, just making sure that they're setting themselves up to be a good provider. And so if they don't really feel they're there, a lot of times they'll, date, like I said, date to get to know people, and well, there's quite a few reasons, right? But not necessarily being someone who's like, okay, I'm dating because I think I'm ready for marriage here, right? They'll say, I'm not quite ready for that. And like I said, all of this is okay as long as they are upfront about it. It's okay to not really want anything serious. It's okay to date just because you just want sex. It is okay to date just because you want companionship. All of that is fine. Where things go left, where things get weird, is when people aren't upfront with one another and intentions are just not aligning. Okay, that's where the problem comes from, right? So another question, the last question, number 3, that I think is a really great question to ask when vetting is, what was your favorite thing about your last relationship? Or what was the favorite thing about your last girlfriend, partner, whatever? What is something that you really enjoyed about them or enjoyed about the relationship? And so there's a twofold reason why I like this question, right? One is you really want to get a gauge of where they are emotionally. So if they respond, fuck her, I hate her, everything about her was awful, this, that, and the other, I'd be like, oh, okay, this might not actually be, this might, sounds like you may need some more time to really think about things, and really time to heal, and yeah, okay? Because if someone has a response like that, where they're just, they hate that person, everything was their fault, yada, yada, yada. What they're not doing is being self-aware about the situation, right? Now, that's not to say that this wasn't an awful person. She could have been an awful person. She could have been horrible. She could have been a terrible girlfriend. She could still be a terrible person. But I've learned when it comes to these, when it comes to choosing people, and like I was saying in the last video too, there's a reason why we attract some people. There's a reason why people are attracted to us. And if they're as terrible as you say they are, how do they get far enough to actually be in a relationship with you? What were some of those reasons? Some of those reasons may be, well, that person may not have the self-awareness to realize what was going on. They may not be introspective enough. There's a lot of reasons why, right? And so that is a really good question to kind of gauge where they are when it comes to maturity level, when it comes to how self-aware they are, how much they're willing to own up to, right? Because sometimes all they can really say is just, I don't even if they're not aware of why, as long as they're even acknowledging, like, yeah, that was, I don't know what that was. That's still a level of self-awareness, rather than just saying, oh, everything was, right? And so another reason why I like the question, what was a favorite thing about that person or relationship, it really, if they respond positively, gives you a lot of good insight into the kind of partner they are and what their expectations are in a partner, right? Now, if they say, oh, you know what, that relationship was not the greatest, but I really love the way she just cared for her children, or I really love the way she went out of her way to be a kind person to everyone that she would meet. It would even get on my nerves. We'd be out, we'd be on our way to a date, or we'd be on our way to wherever, and we're late, we're super late, we're 15 minutes late to this dinner that we're supposed to be, and she stops and talks to this homeless guy, and I'm just like, like, not saying that he's a terrible person, right? But saying, she stops, talks to this homeless guy, and you know, when we walked away, he had this smile on his face, and now I felt bad that I was like, why are you talking to him? But that's who she was. You know, she'd always leave people with a smile on their face, and that's what I really liked about her, right? And when people give their answers to this kind of question, it really, really just shows their heart. It really shows what is important to them. Like I said, in that example, you know, even if a person is annoyed, like if you're late to somewhere, yeah, you can be annoyed. But it really shows where their values lie when they say, you know, oh, I really loved I love how she loves, or I love how she, you know, was kind to people. I really loved how she showed up in the world in this way and that way. It really just shows their values and what they respect and what they admire and what they love about others. Okay? And so hopefully these examples of questions really help in your vetting journey. Like I said, when it comes to vetting, it's really a mindset. When it comes to these questions, and I know some people are like, that's not the kind of question that you need to know. You need to know this thing, and you need to know if they're a felon. You need to learn. I don't disagree at all. But what I'm getting at is there needs to be a starting point, and our starting point should be getting to know a person's intentions, getting to know a person's character, getting to know who they are at their core. In addition to getting to know who you are at your core too, right? But you really want to make sure that you start with a heart posture when it comes to really understanding people, and just understanding who they are at their core, their purpose, all of that. Is just like I said, just as God put you on the planet for a reason, God put them on the planet for a reason too. And so we owe it to ourselves to really understand who they are and why. Right? So all of the links are down below. Make sure you subscribe. I have a dating course that I created with Rebecca Lynn Pope, and the link to that is down below as well. Now, the course itself the live portion is already finished. So we already did that. We had a live classroom. And so the course is actually temporarily closed at the moment. It will reopen. So if the link isn't working or you don't see anywhere to buy it, just keep coming back every so often, because it is going to reopen. You'll be able to re-enroll. But yeah, so that is a really great course to take, because all this stuff I'm talking about, vetting and whatnot, is just scratching the surface of all the things I talk about. I even give my own methods for dating and whatnot, and vetting and making sure that we're putting our best foot forward when it comes to meeting other people, right? And yeah, so hopefully you really take these questions to heart, answer them for yourself too. I always believe in doing something first before we subject others to do it too, right? And like I said in my other video too, make sure you understand that vetting is a mindset. It is a process. Yes, I gave some questions. Yes, I want to kind of broaden our horizons when it comes to thinking about what vetting is. But I also still wanted to make sure that you had a sense of the kind of questions that you need to craft when it comes to meeting others. All right, so until next time, thank you so much for watching. And I already said, you know, all the links and all the things and everything. So yeah, until next time, bye, good night. Why did I say good night? It's night for me, y'all. So if it's morning for you, good morning. If it's afternoon, good afternoon. For me, it's nighttime. So bye.